with Dirt Rider Magazine. We're here testing the 2010 Beta 450 RR. Beta may not seem like a common name in the dirt bike building business, but if you're from the trials realm, you'll definitely know them. I actually owned a Beta trials bike back in the mid-1990s, and the one thing that they were known for building in their trials bikes is real easy to ride bike. And in a lot of ways, they're coming into the dirt bike market doing the same thing. Now, Beta has been building bikes with KTM motors for the past few years. They've been using the racing four-stroke KTM motor, and that's the older generation four-stroke motor, and they just put some of their badges on the side of it, but technically it was the same thing. It was a KTM with a linkage frame, and they seemed like they took that learning experience. They didn't worry about the motor. They already had a good one. They concentrated on getting their chassis all dialed. A lot of people really liked it. In fact, I know a few people, myself included, that tended to like it a little bit better than the KTM chassis that had the same motor. And what they've done now is they've got an all-new 450cc four-stroke engine. It's carbureted. It looks very similar to KTM in a lot of ways, but if you look at it closely, it's completely different. Now, some of the things you can get it in a 400cc and I believe a 525cc version as well. The power delivery right off of idle, right at the crack of idle, there's not a lot of torque, but then it goes into this really torquey, flat, smooth power all the way up into the upper mid. And like I said, it'll stall like right at idle if you're not on the clutch and careful, but then it builds smoothly and nothing aggressive, and then it surges up on top. And I mean, this thing runs up on top. It feels like it's a little bit more than a 450 when you really get this thing going. So for an enduro off-road power band, I think it's really good because that whole mid-range is torquey, broad. It doesn't rev up too fast. Even up on the top, it doesn't rev up too fast, and it's really usable. The biggest thing you just have to be careful of is when you're kind of skidding into turns or doing a lot of stop-starting, you've got to make sure you're covering the clutch and ready for it. It's not that it stalls easy, it just doesn't have as much torque as some of the heavier flywheel bikes. One of the Beta's big selling points is the fact that it has a real low seat height. Well, not real low, but it's a couple inches lower than almost anything else that's a full-size motorcycle. When you're riding it, you don't really feel it, but you can notice it when you get in something technical and you want to put your feet down. The chassis overall has an extremely light feel. It's light steering. It's light and agile on its wheels. The bike, it can pop and snap like if you're dancing through rocks. It feels like you can almost pick it up and plant it where you want it to be. A lot more like a 250F than a 450. It never really feels like it's heavy and planted and slow. It's always quick, agile, and aggressive. Both ends of the suspension seem like they're sprung perfect for guys in the 160 to 200 pound range. We just made little adjustments to the rebound on the shock and then changing the ride height, which does make a lot of difference. Overall, it's not a super stable bike, but running the rear end down a little bit lower sure helped it. And I would say it's definitely set up more for tighter technical trails than it is for going out fifth and sixth gear across the desert.
I'm Dave Donatoni, Dirt Rider Tester, and I'm riding the 2010 Beta 450. Yeah, the motor is a big player on this bike. I mean, when you see a little rock or something, you want to jump it, it'll just jump up in the air and it's a blast. It's a really fun bike to ride. Suspension is kind of in between the both. It's soft when you want it to be, but it absorbs the G-outs really well too, so it's really a nice combination. The steering's light and the clutch is light, and I gotta say the brakes work really good. It's just, you want to stop, man, you stop. I like the way you can steer with the motor, like if you're going up a road and you want to set up early, you can just back it in and use the motor and it'll just slide sideways all the way around the corner. It's really a nice long power band, so you can get away with that without shifting much. For me, being a short guy at 5'7", this bike is perfect for somebody that's my size. I can touch the ground flat-footed, which is kind of uncommon on most off-road bikes. And just when it gets technical, it's a really good feeling. I don't feel like I'm going to tip over and roll down a cliff. It's a nice deal. I really like the low feeling, and you don't notice it when you're riding it. It's just only when you have to slow down or stop is when you really notice the benefits of that.
Beta's got some pretty nice features. The grab handles are extremely Sano. It's a push button to take the seat off, which is kind of unique. Very similar to KTM. There's the just pop-off trap door for the air filter access. And the layout and everything is really thin and easy to move around on. So where does this Beta fit in the grand scheme of things? Well, I don't have a whole lot of bad things to say about it. It's if you're doing tight technical stuff and whether you're trail riding or want to go fast, it's going to work. If there was something I was going to complain about, I've gotten so used to fuel injection that you do notice it has a carburetor sometimes, although the jetting is pretty much spot on. There's just a difference between what carburation feels like and what fuel injection is doing. And then I can't see really anybody being too upset with having one of these things in the garage. They've got a dealer network now that has, I think it's 35 dealers. So it's not too strange to come across one of these things. It's not going to be a KTM for a long time, but Beta's taken the right kind of steps. Building bikes, they didn't do anything completely radical. They're just making a good motorcycle. And what I want to do now is get this thing into a shootout and see what it really does, because I don't think it's going to do too bad. I'm Jimmy Lewis from Dirt Rider Magazine, and we'll see you on the trail. What?
No, it's not a thing. It's
a
a motorcycle.
Is thing degrading?
Thing is degrading when you're talking about a bike that you like.
Ugh, okay.